This is a Red FM Vancouver podcast. Make sure you hit subscribe for more great content. For further info, log on to redfm.ca.
British Columbia the Premier Honourable John Horgan ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਨੇ ਅੱਜ ਉਹ ਫੇਜ਼ 3 ਦੇ ਮੁਤਲਕ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨਗੇ Premier, good morning.
Good morning, Harjinder. How are you today?
Very good. Thank you very much for holding.
Not at all.
So, Premier, how is the phase 3 going so far?
Well, I think British Columbians worked very hard for the past 3.5 months to, quite frankly, lead the country in our ability to flatten the curve, to reduce the number of cases that we were seeing relative to other parts of the world, certainly relative to the United States and other provinces in Canada. And I think that many businesses were anxious and ready to go with phase 3, and we have slowly turned the dial to get more people back into the workforce, more people opening up their businesses. So I'm pretty comfortable here on July 2nd, but there's a lot of work ahead of us, and there are still some challenges. COVID is still in the community. It has not gone away, so people have to be mindful of that and behave appropriately.
I had an open line this morning. Almost all the callers want that masks should be made mandatory. Would you consider that?
Well, Dr. Henry gives us advice on medical issues and public health challenges, and she has been pitch perfect, I would say, to this point in time, and we very much value the work that she's been doing, as do British Columbians. I certainly wear a mask when I'm not able to physical distance, and I encourage all British Columbians to do that as well. But the final directive on that would come from Dr. Henry, and she's not prepared to do that at this time. Also, I look at, again, Harjinder, the success that we've had in British Columbia. We did not issue huge volumes of tickets or bylaw enforcement infringement fines for people not behaving appropriately. People just behaved appropriately, and I think that the best way to monitor these issues is to allow people to speak to each other. And I know that if you get too close to someone and you're not wearing a mask, they'll tell you to back off. And I think that's the best way for the community to deal with this. We've been working cooperatively, and we've had good results.
Premier, do you have any plan to encourage the recipients of CERB, the $2,000 a month, to go back to work somehow?
Well, again, we've been working very closely, Harjinder, with the federal government in a way that's quite unprecedented in my personal experience as well as going through history. There's always been a healthy tension between provinces and the central government. That's part and parcel of our Canadian Federation. But for 15 consecutive weeks, premiers and the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister have been meeting weekly for many hours to discuss these issues. And we've seen success largely because the federal government has been prepared to be flexible with their planning. Some provinces are replacing the CERB, Manitoba, for example. But we believe that there are still many people in our communities that are struggling, and we want to ensure that the federal government maintains these programs until we can get everybody back on their feet.
Well, we do understand this healthy tension between provincial governments and the federal government, but the labor shortage is really hurting now. Small businesses, farmers, their impact is going to be huge on the crops.
Well, we've had significant labor market challenges before COVID. Harjinder, as you know, it was hard to find people. We had the lowest unemployment rate in the country. Businesses were leaving vacancies open because they couldn't find people. So it's not just COVID that's changed that formula. We don't have enough people to do the work. And although the CERB will have some impact on that, that's not the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge is we need more people in British Columbia. And that's one of the issues that I talk to the federal government about all the time. We need a robust immigration plan that will help build out BC, and Canada for that matter, coming out from the back end of COVID-19. This is a unique opportunity for us to look at the challenges we have ahead of us, federal, provincial, municipal, and communities, and say, how do we go from here? And I've been having literally thousands of conversations, Harjinder, with British Columbians in every sector of the economy, small business operators, labor leaders, large industries, and to a person. Their view is, how do we continue to work together to get the outcomes that we need? And so I'm proud of what we've been able to accomplish together, all sectors, across party lines. We've seen a bit of an uptick in partisanship lately, but I commend all political parties at all levels for putting aside historic differences and focusing on our collective responsibility to make sure that we are giving everything we have to improving the situation for British Columbians.
I want to bring something in your knowledge is that a lot of landlords are stuck between the rock and the hard place. A lot of tenants aren't paying the rent, and you can't evict them because you passed a law. So what they should do?
Well, it's not as large a problem as you would think. In the surveys that we've been doing, we put in place a program to get dollars to renters that would go directly to landlords. And we've had a fairly significant uptake on that, and we're going to extend that program through the summer to make sure that those who can't get back to work are not leaving their landlords high and dry, and also are meeting their responsibilities. But the vast majority of British Columbians are paying their rent, and for those that are having challenges, we want to work with them and the landlords, of course, to find a way forward. But the eviction ban was deliberate. We did not need to have people pushed out onto the streets at a time when we were asking everyone to stay home. And we recognize that there are going to be some landlords that have been adversely affected by this. Again, we have a residential tenancy branch that stands open and ready for business to hear from landlords about how we can proceed to improve the situation they have with their particular tenants. But what I've been hearing, Harjinder, quite frankly, is that there are certainly some that are frustrated. I had a friend who couldn't move into a home that he had purchased because he wasn't able to tell the tenants to leave, and that's been duplicated a few times over the past few months. But as we go into phase 3, I think we're seeing more and more people moving. I see more for sale and sold signs on homes. So regular real estate activity is starting to return to normal, and we'll see how we go as the summer progresses.
Premier, I understand you're going to make some big announcement about the Richmond Hospital. I just wanted to request you that keep our Surrey Memorial Hospital and the new hospital in mind, please. Oh,
absolutely. Harjinder, we have been very aggressive on healthcare since we were elected, as you know. Minister Dix, despite as well as managing with Dr. Henry the COVID-19 pandemic, has also been establishing urgent primary care centers across BC, 2 of which are in Surrey, both open now, attaching patients to doctors and healthcare providers through a primary care network. We made the commitment last fall to a second Surrey hospital in Cloverdale. That business plan is being developed. The concept and business plans are being done right now, and we'll have more to say about that this year, before this year is done, for next year's budget. The Richmond Hospital, I'll be talking about later in the day, so I'll leave it at that. But no, we are certainly not forgetting Surrey, nor are we forgetting Dawson Creek, nor are we forgetting Terrace, nor are we forgetting the Cowichan Valley. All of these places that desperately need acute care infrastructure in their communities. In Terrace, the hospital was built in the 1950s. It is an area of lots of industrial activity. You need to have an acute care system that can manage injuries as they happen.
Yeah, all I'm saying is just keep Surrey's new hospital on top of the priority because people are hurting. Anything you'd like to add in closing?
Well, I want to thank your listeners for their diligence over the past number of months. We have had some very challenging times globally, and British Columbia continues to stand out as an example of how people should behave. I think our diversity is our strength. We've seen racism start to show its ugly head, certainly in the United States and here in Canada. And I'm so proud of British Columbians and Canadians standing up together from every corner of the globe, and Indigenous peoples who have been here forever standing up and saying no to racism. I'm proud to be part of a community that recognizes that we are all in this together. And I think the pandemic, Harjinder, quite frankly, put a very obvious lens on that. It doesn't matter. The virus didn't discriminate, and British Columbians shouldn't discriminate either. So that's what I'm most proud of over the past number of months is how strong we are as a community. And we've got some tough times ahead, but I'm confident if we continue to focus on helping each other, being kind and being calm and being safe, as Dr. Henry constantly reminds us, we're all going to come out of this stronger than we went into it.
Horgan, thank you very much for your time. I know you're in a rush, but I really appreciate you saving some time for us.
Not at all, Harjinder.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to another Red FM podcast. Don't forget to hit subscribe and check out our Red FM Canada YouTube channel. For further info, log on to our Red FM social media platforms or visit redfm.ca.